Hello, my name is Kenny Davila, and in this video I will show you how to do annotation of stack bar charts using the updated annotation tools. This is an extension of the previous video, but covering the new options that you have to make the annotation of bar charts in general much faster than before. The first thing that we will do is click on Edit Data to start the bar chart annotation. The main goal here is to set the correct height for each of the bars that we have in this particular chart. I won't go much into details because many of these notions are already covered in the previous video, so I will just show you how can I do the annotation with the novel options. I will always check that the number of bars is the number expected. I have the correct categories and the correct data series as before. One thing I need to fix is the ordering and the stacking. The bottom stack in this case is 0, so I must put this one at the top, followed by 1, followed by 2, followed by greater than 2. Once that I have the right order, it's going to show that we have 4 stacks in this particular chart. The grouping is correct right now by category, so that part is complete. So far everything works the same way as it did in the previous version of the tool. Now where the update begins is when we have to edit the bar parameters. Notice that you still have the same option as before to edit the layout of the bar. The main difference is on this side, where you will see some draggable tools that you can use to more quickly adjust the same parameters. We will start by zooming into the appropriate level. We can start adjusting these parameters. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that there are 4 green lines here. Each of these represents an option to move each of these 4 parameters. You must align each of these with the corresponding portion of the bars. The last one, I'm going to start with this one, corresponds to the position of the last bar that you want to annotate. So you can drag from this point, click here and just drag it until you have visually aligned it with the ending of the last bar. Once that you are roughly done, we can start adjusting the next ones. Here it doesn't seem like there are 2, but there are 2 bars actually. The first one corresponds to the end of the group of bars, because in this case we don't have group bars, we have a single stack. This one and this one will be put together all the time. This one, the second one, represents the ending of the first bar, and the first one represents the beginning of the first bar. So what we are going to do is we are going to adjust this one to the very beginning, and we are going to adjust this one to the ending of that one, because again this is a stack bar and we have a single bar per group. Then we will align these two together. Notice that, same as before, you won't be allowed to move this element beyond this one. So as soon as I try to drag it further, it won't let me. The same goes in the other direction. If I click on this one and I try to drag it further, it won't let me as well. Using this mode, as you can see, we were able to quickly align the 4 stacks of bars visually with the original chart, and much faster than having to manually adjust each of the parameters on this side as I showed in the previous video. However, these parameters might still come handy in cases where you need a bit more precision and dragging. Another thing I want to bring your attention to is these 2 additional points that you will find in this controller. When you drag them, you can use them to stretch everything proportionally to the original size. This will be handy in other cases where the size is not correctly matched, so you can more quickly adjust everything proportionally, and then you can adjust each of these lines finally afterwards. Once that we are satisfied with the visual alignment between these lines and the bars in the background, we click on accept. Now the next part is the data annotation. We will start by clicking on edit bar data. Here is another tool that might be able to save you a lot of time in many charts, but not always. In this case in particular, we have a legend, and the legend is telling us where each of the stacks begin, what's the color of each of them. So we have incorporated a algorithm that once that you have adjusted the size, the location of each of the bars, it will try to guess the correct location of each of the corresponding stacks within the bar. Again, this is just an estimation, so sometimes it's gonna be accurate and sometimes it won't be very accurate, and you will still have to go back to the manual adjustment functions. Notice that it doesn't represent any cost on your end, because by default you can always do the adjustment using the manual bars, but when it works it will save you a lot of time, so you should always try to run this option first before you try to manually annotate the bars. Note that this tool relies on the existence of a legend on the chart. When there is no legend and there is a stack bars, then the tool will be unable to identify the position of each bar in the stack. For those cases where you have a single layer of stacks or a simple non-stack bar chart or group chart, there is a default option that can still try to guess the heights for those charts. You can always try it, but if it is a stack bar and it doesn't have a legend, then the tool won't work and you will always have to manually annotate those. But these type of charts are rare. We will click on the button that says auto bar adjustment. As you can see, it was able to correctly guess the position of the first data series, the position of the second data series, the position of the third data series, but the position of the last data series, the white one, didn't always work. It's a bit off for all of them, so we will have to use the manual bar adjustment to get them properly set. We click on this option and we make sure that we are in the correct layer of the stack. The first one seems fine for all of them. The second seems fine, maybe it's just a bit off here. So if you want to correct it, you can also use the manual adjustment till you're satisfied. Notice that the size of the other bars in the stack is maintained, so adjusting one sometimes will result in still getting the other ones correctly aligned. Then we go to the third one. Third one seems to be almost okay for most of them, so you will just adjust this one here. And I need to click until I'm satisfied with the position, and then maybe I will shift this one a bit or keep it in its current position. And then the last one, I need to adjust it, so I will increase the zoom to make my job easier. Make sure that it's on the 4 layer of stacks, and then click on manual adjustment and then click here and here. Then I will move to the next location and click again on manual bar adjustment and then click here and here. And with that, the bar is annotated. Notice that this was still faster than the previous case where I had to annotate each of them. It really saved me some time, and as you saw, it is not perfect. It won't always give you the right answer for everything, but the partial answer is still useful and sometimes much faster than the original tool. Once that we are satisfied with the position of these stacks, we can click on return, and we have concluded the annotation of the data on this stack bar chart. Always remember, after you go back to this menu, to click on save to store your annotations.